Faith is the beginning, the gentle stirring of our wings. When we're encouraged by our need.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is Linda Graziano, and this is your Canvas of Hope. Today, we have an amazing guest speaker with us. Her name is Jennifer Cochran, and she's the CEO of Fitness Design Studios. She uses a combination of health and wellness coaching, movement, and muscle therapies to get people moving again after illness and/or injury. In April 2016, 2 days after the best physical condition of her life, a routine mammogram started her breast cancer journey. And after 15 years of working with survivors, her mission is to help people find more balance, reclaim their joyful lives, and live a happier and more fulfilling life. I'd like to welcome Jennifer Cochran today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, and I'm going to look forward to hearing your story a little bit more. And my family has been afflicted with cancer. I have 6 immediate out of 9 family members that had cancer or fighting cancer right now. And I was asked to join the efforts of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society and their Man and Woman of the Year to help raise money. And they do so by doing a 10-week-long competition where we have a number of different things. And one of the ideas that I had was to write a book. So we have the Canvas of Hope, which is part of the campaign, and the Canvas of Hope book. And you'll hear a little bit more about this later. And the whole purpose as we're moving on, as it started with helping the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, is to also help bring hope and inspiration to people. So many people have faced such challenges, and I know your story is one of a challenging one where you have overcome it. And right now, facing this pandemic, I think we all need a little bit of hope and inspiration to know that we're all in this together and we're going to make it out of it together. Why don't you share with us, Jennifer, a little bit about what your story is and maybe what some of your main challenge was and how did you overcome it?
All right. Thank you for having me again. And LLS is such an amazing organization. They do so much to help people. And the research that they are funding with the funds that get raised is really making a difference, not just for blood cancers, but for all across the spectrum of all cancers. So I'm really happy to be here to support you and to support LLS.
Thank you so much.
So in 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And at the time, I had worked with cancer survivors for over a decade, helping them to get moving again after illness and injury. So I actually had a lot of information, which isn't really normal for people. So in the early stages of my diagnosis and treatment planning, which is usually a time of immense overwhelm for people, I was actually in a pretty good place. And it was interesting because people, I think within the course of a week, as I had to start telling people, because as a business owner and someone who is out in the community, I had to share with people that I was going to be having surgery. And at the time, I didn't really know what that looked like. It looked early stage. I didn't know if I was going to be surgery and done or if I was going to have a longer chemo and other things. And my surgeon told me it was going to be 7 days from surgery to when I was going to be back able to work. Now, I couldn't do massage therapy on people. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I couldn't do hands-on work with people, but I could have people in the Pilates studio training. So I was very much like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to have this surgery. I had a bilateral mastectomy with expanders put in. I was like, oh, I'm going to go. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be back in 7 days. Great. And then I started getting calls from organizations that did house cleaning. They were getting calls from people recommending me as a person who would benefit from house cleaning services. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I don't need that. There's there's people out there that really need that. I don't need that. I'm going to be fine. Like 7 days. It's fine. And so I've always been fiercely independent. And I didn't really recognize that at the time for what it was, which was not accepting the support that was being offered. So I later came to find, as I was more into, because I did have to have chemo. So about halfway through chemo, at that point, I was like, okay, not only are all people going through this deserving of receiving services and kindness. And I had one neighbor that was like, I am bringing you soup. So just so you know, it's on the stove and it will be there in 2 hours. And you will take it and you will eat it. Because I was like, no, we're good. Like, we're good. We've got food. Like, we're good. And I'm celiac, and so I'm gluten and dairy free. So a lot of people were like, ooh, we wouldn't even know what to feed you. So, but I had this one neighbor that was like, no, I'm feeding you and you will like it. and I was so over the moon grateful. I mean, I just was emailing, it's been 4 years. I was just emailing with her last week and I was like, I need your soup recipe.
It's a time of need of soup. We need healing things. So yes, absolutely. Bring on the soup.
Yes. So that idea of receiving and when we are open to receive, we are open to allow people to give. And people really do want to support you. In a lot of ways, they just don't know how. And I found as a person going through the journey, when you're in it, you're also not 100% present to all the ways that people could support you. If I got one more fruit arrangement, I was like, oh my goodness, these are really lovely and they're so nice, but I can only eat so much fruit. Thank you. So nice.
You had a long journey, and what are some insights that you have from your experience that you can look back upon and say, wow, that really helped me, and that this could help people of all walks today get refocused in on how to take those steps forward to.
So one of the things that I have now come to recognize more fully is that my kind of approach to my life is that of positivity. And I was talking with a fellow survivor yesterday on my podcast about the science of positive thinking and the effect that positivity has on our cells and on our healing abilities. And there's been scientific research around that topic. For me, when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh, okay, I have to do a thing. Like, I'm otherwise really, really healthy, but I have this problem. So now I'm just going to do what I have to do to move through this challenge. Not that I didn't let it get me down. Like, there were days where I was like, ugh, today's a tough day. But then I didn't if I had a brief pity party, it was brief. I didn't set up camp there. I got back to, well, what things can I do? What positive direction can I be moving in? And sometimes it's sharing how you're doing, our connection with other people. You and I were talking before this, literally behind the scenes, about how we're doing behind the scenes. And having those people that you can connect with to share those, backstage, behind the scenes truths is so helpful, because when we do that, then we're able to know we're not alone.
We are not alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see this circle of this connection and community and giving and receiving and the kindness and the truthfulness. It's really being able to say, right now I'm having a tough day. Behind the scenes, before we got on here, we know that going through what we're going through, you just don't know 1 minute to the next where you're feeling, and being able to have those open conversations is really helpful. To say, look, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not just putting on a smiling face because that's what you expect to see from me, but to really know that what's in my heart is pain and fear and worry, and to know we're not alone, and that together we can get through this and really be able to help and to support each other as we, unite, right?
Absolutely. And the full truth of where we are on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of times where people were feeling a certain way, and if I wasn't feeling that way, they had trouble reconciling those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting as well, to just kind of notice how we're feeling and accepting that all of our realities are a little bit different.
They are different and they change, and
Yes.
it's being able to have the compassion to know that people are where they are, and not to look down upon them for them being honest and saying, this is where I'm at, this is my truth right now. Because
Absolutely.
when you give into the truth like that, there's like an opening, because you're giving way into it rather than fighting up against it, and saying truthfully, this is where I'm at, and to know it's going to change. It really is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Really deep. And I gave you a couple compliments before we started, that you do so much for the community. You do a lot through your podcast. You are truly a giver. Really, really
Thank you.
a giver. And it's a no wonder that your word was receiving, because I think it's very difficult for people who are natural givers to be able to receive for themselves. So
I think that's very true.
Mhm. Very true. You're such a giving heart. You do your Facebook lives, you're giving there, you do your podcasts, you interviewed me, and you're always, up there in the forefront of looking to help people. And even, where we are today, you're still thinking about how you can help people get through this and to live healthier lives and be able to move through this, because life doesn't stop. Cancer doesn't stop. All the other things that we face on a regular basis, they don't stop just because we're put in, 4 walls.
That's a really great point as well. I have a friend who is an advocate, a patient advocate for people going through cancer and helping them navigate the journey. And such a great reminder that cancer does not stop. There are people being diagnosed and starting on their journeys, and they're experiencing real challenges right now in the current environment.
And you think about a young child, if I think, when my younger sibling was diagnosed back many years ago, and having to go into, the hospital, and now, how are parents able to help and support their sick children? Are they allowed to get into the hospitals? Are they allowed to support their children as they're going through their, chemo and radiation treatment? So, those things don't stop, but we have to be mindful that those people need support too, in addition to the high at-risk people with other medical conditions.
Yes.
Too. Well, I want to thank you, and I want to point out a couple of the words that we've been kind of playing around with, and because you're a giving person, this is the art. As you know, the book is comprised of 38 inspirational words, and The art was done by children between the ages of 5 to 17. And there are a couple of adults like me and a few others. Can you read that?
Charlie's comment at the top is, I like giving presents.
Yes. And this is you. I think you're just such a natural giver. But you talked about the importance of receiving, and that was the word that you thought would be really important. So I want to just share this one, because while the book is written largely by children, it's not just for children, because of if we as adults or any age allow the sentiment in, it can, put a smile, and we know that smiling is also one of those ways that we can heal. So here's receipt for you. This is like the chicken soup. Can you see that one?
Yes. So Jake, also 8, wrote, I want to receive a Lamborghini from the lottery. Wouldn't that be great if we could get Lamborghinis from the lottery?
Wouldn't that be great, especially now? So, and it's all about, then we also have the journaling aspect of the book.
Yes.
We know that journaling and positivity, all those things are really important, but journaling is one of those ways that we can identify with some of those emotions and connect with them, whether they're the tougher, things that are running through your mind, or some of the positive things that we want to be open to, like open to receiving all the gifts that we have. And there was one other word that you talked about, and that is all about what the journey is about. Do you remember that word?
Transformation.
Transformation. So
yes.
This is Transformation, and it's by me, yours truly. And it's really what the whole book is about, because the book is about taking people on a journey of who we are, what we do. And you mentioned it about getting into action. You said that earlier. And I think that's important about what you bring to people, is getting them into action. Because, when you can get people into action, there's so much healing there. And it's through that we become something else on the other side. So I'd like to share with you what I wrote about my little, and it's actually a butterfly. I did this through a mindfulness training painting class, where you're given a blank canvas and a paintbrush, and you are to paint something that comes from the inside. And after I painted it, I was like, that looks like a butterfly. So the word came to me, transformation, whereby all the other, most of the other pieces of art, the word was given and then the art came from it. So my art came first and then the word came. And it works out really beautifully, because it's all about the challenges, okay? So all the challenges we face makes us who we are in the world. The little caterpillar worked hard to transform into a beautiful butterfly. And it really summarizes that, when we go through these challenges, that we know on the other side it's going to be.
And the idea of getting into action is really important as well. Whether it's an action of picking up a phone and connecting with a friend, that social support in this socially distancing time is still so important.
It definitely, those are great tips. So getting outside, communing with nature, getting into action, finding that positive, connecting with people, being open to receiving. This has been a beautifully rich conversation with you today, and I really hope that our viewers can take away some of these amazing nuggets that you shared with us today. How would our viewers be able, who don't know you, how would they be able to get in touch with you? And I understand you're going to be giving away a gift. So could you tell us how to get a hold of you and what it is?
Yes. So there will be a link to access a PDF of my 8 ways to give and receive help during challenging times, with just different categories of all the different areas that I experienced during my journey, and other people I've spoken with that have experienced during their journeys, to give people ideas for ways in which to offer and accept help. And you can also email me at jennifer@fitnessdesignsolutions.com. And you can connect with me in my Facebook group if you happen to Facebook. So I have a Facebook group entitled Surviving is Just the Beginning. And really, as we move through this time, I feel like it's even more relevant because we're all working to get through to the other side. And then when we get through to the other side, we all get to figure out what our new normal is.
Absolutely.
You can hop over there and join me there.
Wonderful. And we'll have this listed as well. So I just wanted to say thank you again, Jennifer. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
And if you're interested in supporting our Canvas of Hope, you can go to canvasofhope.org. And thank you. Have a wonderful day.